Earth was weak, insignificant, forgotten. But when the stars turned cold, humanity reminded them who we really are. The human died, then got up. Kalis 9 is a wasteland, a planet once lush with life, now a barren stretch of cracked earth and dust-filled skies. The alien Valkyr Dominion has transformed it into a cruel battleground, a gladiatorial arena where humanity's last remnants are tested and discarded. The landscape is jagged and twisted, a graveyard of metal and bone. Fallen soldiers from countless failed uprisings litter the ground, their remains half buried in the shifting sands. Twisted, half-dismantled machines and broken weapons are strewn around, remnants of humanity's desperate last stands. In the distance, the enormous skeletal frame of the arena looms, a mechanical monstrosity built to entertain the Valkyr. It's a haunting reminder of how humanity was once a powerful force, now reduced to mere playthings for alien amusement. Despite the brutal destruction, there's something undeniably human in this place. A resilience, an untold strength, a refusal to fade into the dust. Amidst the ruins, humanity's greatest test lies ahead. Survival against the aliens' biomechanical creations, powered by unmatched technology, but void of true will. The planet has claimed many lives, but there's one soldier left, standing tall amidst the rubble, embodying the spirit of defiance that refuses to die. Amidst the ruins of Kalis 9, one figure emerges from the desolate horizon, a solitary soldier, battered and broken. Lieutenant Eli Boss. His appearance is a reflection of the endless war that has ravaged both him and his planet. His face is scarred, his eyes cold and calculating, his body bearing the weight of every battle he's fought and lost. The once proud uniform of Earth's military hangs loosely around his emaciated frame. Voss has seen the horrors of intergalactic war. He's lost his comrades, his family, and his home. Every memory of Earth is a distant, painful echo. Now he fights for the amusement of the Valkyr Dominion. His only purpose is to survive another day. Stripped of his identity, reduced to a weapon in the hands of his captors, Voss is a force of nature, a man who's lost everything, but still refuses to bend. There is no hope in his eyes, just an unyielding will to survive. A creature of vengeance and sorrow, Voss has become a mirror of humanity's resilience. His mere existence, despite overwhelming odds, is a testament to humanity's refusal to be conquered, even when it seems like all is lost. The sound of roaring machinery fills the air as Voss is dragged, shackled into the heart of the Valkyr's twisted arena. A massive mechanical structure looms above, its gears grinding and pulsing with alien energy. This is the Valkyr Dominion's cruelest creation, a gladiatorial pit where they force their prisoners into deadly combat. The floor is a sprawling wasteland of sand, metal shards, and broken machinery. Here, human fighters are not just enslaved, they are thrown into an endless cycle of violent entertainment, a spectacle for the amusement of the Valkyr elite. The arena is vast, a place designed for maximum brutality. As Voss is shoved forward, the deafening roar of the crowd fills the air. Valkyr spectators, eager for bloodshed, screaming for the next kill. Voss knows the score. He's been here before, fighting for his life in the sand. But this time is different. The Valkyr have unleashed their latest creation, an imposing biomechanical beast, a monster designed to break even the strongest fighters. It stands in the center of the arena, its mechanical body a fusion of cold metal and living tissue, its eyes glowing with a malevolent intelligence. Voss's body aches, his will falters, but the fire within him still burns. He's been broken before, but he won't go down without a fight. In this moment, the true cost of war, the sheer hopelessness of humanity's situation is clear. Voss is nothing but entertainment, Yet there's something unshakable in him. He's a reminder to the Valkyr that humanity cannot be easily crushed. The ground trembles beneath Voss's feet as the Valkyr's beast lunges forward with terrifying speed. Its mechanical limbs screech against the sand, its massive claws tearing through the air like blades. Voss braces himself, his heart pounding in his chest. He's fought countless battles, but this is different. The creature before him isn't just an opponent, it's a symbol of everything that has been lost. Earth, his comrades, his family, all reduced to this. The beast strikes first. Its claws rake across the ground, leaving deep scars in the sand. Voss dodges, narrowly escaping the massive talons that slice through the air. His body moves on instinct, his training, his experiences, all of it comes into play. He knows he can't beat this thing with brute force alone. He must outsmart it. Every moment in the arena is a battle against time. The creature's mechanical eyes track his every movement, its sensors anticipating his next strike. Voss's mind races as he uses his surroundings, broken pieces of machinery, debris scattered across the sand, to his advantage. He throws sand into the creature's eyes, temporarily blinding it. It's a small victory, but enough to shift the tide. The battle rages on, brutal and unrelenting, but Voss's survival instinct is unmatched. The creature roars, charging once again. Voss stands tall, tired, wounded, but unbroken. And for the first time, the Valkyr begin to realize that this human, this lone soldier, is something they cannot control. The arena falls silent for a moment, the Valkyr holding their breath. Voss, bloodied and broken, stands face to face with the biomechanical beast. He's pushed to the limit. His muscles ache, his vision blurs, but he's still standing. Then, with terrifying speed, the creature strikes.
Voss is caught off guard. The beast's claws rip into his back, and he falls, gasping for air. His body crumples in the sand, lifeless, his blood pooling beneath him. The Valkyr cheer, their cruel satisfaction evident. Voss is just another casualty in their endless cycle of violence. The last human warrior, now a forgotten piece of entertainment. But as the Valkyr move on to prepare for the next fight, something strange happens. Voss's hand twitches. His fingers curl slightly, as though fighting against death itself. The crowd grows silent as the dead soldier's body begins to move once more, not by alien technology, but by the sheer force of human will. Voss's body, still broken and bloodied, begins to stir. His fingers grasp the sand, then his arm twitches. The dead soldier's eyes flicker open. The Valkyr watch in stunned silence, their smug confidence shattered. This is impossible. This shouldn't be happening. Voss's body rises from the sand, his breath ragged, his muscles aching. But there is no stopping him now. He is more than just a soldier. He is the embodiment of humanity's will to survive. The creature's claws may have ripped into him, but they could not defeat his spirit. The Valkyr are frozen in place, unable to comprehend what's happening. Voss, a broken man, is reborn. But this time, he's not fighting for survival. He's fighting for something much more dangerous: his humanity, his defiance. The Valkyr realize too late that they have underestimated the most unpredictable force in the universe: the will of a human. And so, Eli Voss rises from the ashes of his defeat, ready to show the universe that humanity cannot be contained, cannot be controlled, not even in death. Hours after the brutal gladiatorial fight, the battlefield on Kalis 9 lay eerily silent. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the ruined landscape. The silence was only broken by the distant hum of alien machinery, the technological remnants of the Valkyr conquest. A lone Valkyr technician stood in the center of the crater where Voss had fallen. Clad in their dark, reflective exosuit, the technician's movements were precise as he swept the area with advanced scanning tools. His screen flickered, displaying the usual aftermath of such a fight: bloodied soil, discarded weapons, and the wreckage of the biomechanical war beast that had been torn apart. But there was something wrong. There, in the center of the destruction,
something was missing. The human soldier's body was nowhere to be found. The technician zoomed in, running the scan over the ground again. No trace of Voss. No blood. No signs of life. Just the scorched earth and the broken remains of the war machine. Impossible, the technician muttered under his breath, the words barely audible beneath his helmet. His hands flew over the console, recalibrating the sensors. Still nothing. The scan showed no movement, no life signature. The Belkyr were used to dealing with the aftermath of battle. But this was new. Not even a body, he whispered, his voice edged with a hint of disbelief. This wasn't the first time a human had died in the arena. The Belkyr had exterminated thousands over the years. But this felt different. The absence of Voss's body sent a ripple of unease through the technician, and that unease would soon spread through the ranks of the Belkyr forces. Something had changed, something they didn't understand. Voss's fingers twitched in the sand, the movement barely a whisper against the scorched earth. His body was broken, torn and bloodied, bones shattered, skin hanging in tatters. His muscles screamed in agony with every breath. But there was a fire in him that refused to be extinguished.
He didn't know how he was still alive. No medical miracles, no healing tech, nothing. Just raw human will. The alien world around him seemed to mock his survival, a vast, unforgiving landscape stretching out before him. But Voss's spirit was unbroken. With slow, deliberate movements, he pushed himself up, his hands sinking into the dirt. Every inch was agony, but his will drove him forward. His eyes, bloodshot and wild with pain, scanned the desolate horizon. The sun beat down on him mercilessly, but he ignored it. The coldness in his chest was far worse than the burning sun overhead. It wasn't just the physical pain, it was the crushing weight of everything he had lost. His comrades, his mission, Earth. The Velki had thought they had destroyed him, but they were wrong. He couldn't explain it, but something deep within refused to let him die. He crawled, inch by agonizing inch, away from the wreckage of the crater. Each movement felt like it could be his last, yet his body refused to give up. The human spirit, his spirit, demanded that he keep going. As Voss crawled, the pain was overwhelming, the darkness closing in. But then it came, a series of sharp flashes, memories that cut through the haze. His mind, battered by agony, clung to these fragments of the past. His training on Earth had been brutal, relentless. He remembered the harsh commands of his instructor, the blaring alarms of the simulation rooms, the sound of his heart pounding in his chest as he endured the most grueling physical tests. "Don't die quiet," his commander had said, a stern voice echoing in his memory. The memory of his instructor's piercing eyes, filled with purpose and expectation, pushed him forward. His training had been a series of impossibilities, surviving without supplies, fighting in conditions where survival seemed impossible. Yet, he'd made it through. He'd endured it all, and he would endure this too. In the flashes of pain and clarity, Voss remembered the lessons that had been burned into him, the lessons that had forged him into a soldier. Fight through the pain, the instructors had said. Push past your limits. Never let the world tell you that you are finished. Voss had learned to never give up. And now, in the face of death, it was these lessons that kept him tethered to life. His body was broken, but his will, his unyielding will, was stronger than any injury. With a final, pained gasp, Voss's hand found something buried beneath the sand. His fingers brushed against the comlink, its surface battered and scorched from the violence of the battle. With a grimace, he forced the device open, his trembling fingers struggling to activate it. The signal was weak, barely a whisper against the silence of space, but it was a signal nonetheless. Voss's last remaining hope, a desperate plea for help. His voice, rough and hoarse, came out in a ragged breath. "Please, someone, help." The signal barely made it through the atmosphere, distorted and faint. But it was enough to give Voss the strength to push forward, to hope, however fleeting, that someone,
somewhere might still be listening. His last thought, as the signal faded into the cold emptiness of space, was simple. Humanity would never be finished. Not while there was life in his body.
Far away, in the cold black of deep space, the hidden Earth vessel received a signal. A crew of scattered survivors, those who had escaped the Velki purges, were monitoring deep space for any sign of human life. When the faint, distorted transmission came through, it was like a lifeline thrown into the void. The technician aboard the ship worked quickly, cleaning up the signal, the words coming into focus. I'm alive. For a moment, there was silence. Then, disbelief swept across the crew. Had they really heard that right? One of their own, alive. Captain Holt stood at the helm, eyes narrowing as he processed the information. The Earth fleet was fractured, its ships scattered, but this was something they hadn't expected. A human survivor against all odds. Prepare for a jump, Holt ordered. We're going to find out if Voss is still alive, or if this is just another trap. The crew scrambled, urgency and fear now driving their every movement. They hadn't expected a sign of life from Earth's forces, but the faintest spark of hope had ignited. Back on Kalis 9, the Velki commanders were thrown into chaos. They had seen many strange things in their conquest, but this defied reason. Voss's survival was a mystery. The Velki, as advanced as they were, had never encountered a human capable of defying such odds. One officer, cold and clinical, narrowed his eyes as he spoke. Humans do not regenerate. Their biology is fragile, easily broken. But another older officer, more seasoned, stared into the holographic display, his mind racing. Maybe he's not just human. A wave of uncertainty rippled through the room. The cold logic of the Velki began to crack. Could humanity be more dangerous than we thought? The older strategist muttered, the seed of doubt now firmly planted. The Velki had underestimated humanity before, but this time, they had no idea just how much they were about to pay for it. The barren desert planet, covered in endless dunes, stretches endlessly under a harsh, burning sun. The Velki, a species known for their cold, methodical tactics and advanced weaponry, believed they had finally conquered the human resistance. But in the ruins of their military installations, a shadow moves. Voss is a ghost in the sands, a figure that emerges from nowhere, strikes with deadly precision, and vanishes before anyone can react. His form is a blur against the shifting dunes as he silently raids Velki patrols, stealing food, weapons, and supplies, leaving only devastation behind. The Velki are haunted by the myth of this human insurgent. He is everywhere and nowhere, always a step ahead, always watching. With each raid, the terror grows. The Velker deployed their most sophisticated scanning equipment, but the readings are always a second too late. Voss is an enigma, his movements as unpredictable as the desert winds. His attacks are swift and efficient, a reminder that humanity is not so easily vanquished. One night, the Velker set a trap, luring him into a false sense of safety. But Voss is too smart. He anticipates their every move, turning the ambush back on them. His heart races, but his mind is calm, calculating. The Velker have learned nothing about human resilience. He isn't just a soldier, he's a survivor, and his survival is the rebellion's greatest weapon. The attack ends swiftly. Voss melts back into the shadows, a mere whisper on the wind. Voss kneels beside a ruined outpost, the remnants of a Velker soldier's body lying next to him. His own body is a patchwork of scars, deep gashes and burns that would have killed anyone else. Yet within hours, his wounds begin to close, his skin knitting back together at a horrifying rate. The pain is constant, gnawing at him like a hunger he can never satisfy.
He grits his teeth, fighting against the agony as his body regenerates. Every breath feels like fire. His muscles twitch and contract as new tissue grows in place of the old. There is no mercy in this healing, just endless, pulsing pain. But the wounds close, the blood dries, and Voss stands once more, his skin marked with scars that tell the story of a man who cannot die. As he wipes the sweat from his brow, he stares at the hand that has just healed itself. Something primal, something beyond understanding is coursing through his veins. His mind races. What is this force within him? It is neither technology nor medicine. It is something far older, far deeper than any science the Velker possess. Voss knows it's not just his body that's changing. He can feel it in his soul. The world is different now, and he is different. He is a living testament to humanity's defiance. The Velker scientist, Dr. Rhine, is captive, shackled to a chair in the dimly lit confines of a rebel base. His once pristine uniform is torn and stained, his face weary. He trembles, a man caught between two worlds, one he served and one he now helps to destroy. Voss stands before him, a silent figure, his eyes cold and focused. Dr. Rhine, despite his fear, begins to speak. "The Chaos Gene, that's what you are," Dr. Rhine whispers, his voice tinged with both awe and fear. "It's what the Velker feared most about humanity." Voss steps closer, his face a mask of confusion. "What are you talking about?" Rhine's gaze darts to the side, as if the walls might be listening. "You humans, you're not like us. You're not like any species we've encountered. There's a gene dormant in your species. It makes you unpredictable, adaptable. It's chaos, and chaos is terrifying." Voss leans in, his voice a low growl. "Chaos? What does that have to do with me?" Rhine swallows hard, his eyes wide. "The Velker have been studying you for centuries. We thought we could wipe you out, subdue you, but every time we did, you adapted, evolved. It's in your DNA, a survival instinct beyond anything we've ever seen. That's why you survive. It's not luck, it's the Chaos Gene." A wave of realization crashes over Voss. His healing, his survival against the odds, it was never a miracle. It was his biology awakening, a power inside him that no alien science could explain. He is the living embodiment of humanity's potential, a force the Valkyr could never control. Voss is alone, sitting in a small, dimly lit room. The walls are cold and metallic, but his thoughts are a furnace. He runs his fingers over the scar on his arm, watching as it heals before his eyes, the skin knitting back together. For the first time, he's not just a soldier. He's something else, something more. His mind drifts back to the bioweapons the Valkyr used on him, the toxins, the viruses meant to kill him. But instead of dying, something triggered inside him. He remembers the blinding pain, the searing heat, and then the strange sensation of his cells fighting back. The Chaos Gene, he realizes. It was always there, dormant, waiting for a moment like this. And now, it has awakened. He is no longer just a man. He is something dangerous, something that could change the fate of the galaxy. The question gnaws at him. What does it mean to be human when you're no longer just a man, when you're something more? Dr. Rin enters the Rebel Command Center, his eyes wide with urgency. He's carrying a datapad, stolen intelligence from the Valkyr's top secret labs. "Boss," Ren says, his voice shaking, "they're planning to enhance their bioweapons. They've developed a new strain that could wipe humanity from existence." Boss's expression hardens. "Then we stop them." Rin shakes his head. "It's not that simple. These weapons, they're beyond anything we've seen. But I know how they work. I can help you stop them, if you'll let me." Voss studies him, his gaze piercing. "Why? Why are you helping us?" Rin swallows hard, his gaze a mixture of guilt and conviction. "Because I was part of it. I helped them create the weapons that could destroy your people. But you, what I've seen in you, what I've seen in humans, I can't be a part of that anymore." Voss nods slowly. "Then we do this together, for humanity." The whisper spread through the scattered human colonies. The Undying, a man who could not be killed, whose survival defied all logic. The rebels, once fractured and desperate, began to unite, rallying under his name. Voss stands atop a hill, overlooking a newly formed rebel army. The soldiers look to him with awe, with hope. They believe in him. They believe in the myth of the man who cannot die. And Voss knows that he is more than a myth. He is a living, breathing symbol of humanity's will to survive. His presence, his immortality, has become their rallying cry. The Valkyr may have the technology, the weaponry, the power, but humanity has something they never expected. They have Voss. They have the Undying. And with him, they have hope. The Valkyr Dominion had grown tired of the ghost known as Voss. To them, he represented a human spirit too wild, too defiant to be crushed. A lone thorn in the side of their empire. But the Valkyr were ruthless, and their patience was wearing thin. Today, the hunt for Voss would end. A cold, metallic rain began to fall as the first of Valkyr's elite hunter-killer squads descended from the sky. Cybernetic warriors built for one purpose: to kill. Their faces were an amalgamation of human and machine, gleaming red eyes that could track the faintest heartbeat, guns that could disintegrate steel with a single shot. They were the Valkyr's deadliest force, and they were coming for Voss. The air crackled with tension. In the heart of the war-torn city, Voss crouched behind a shattered pillar, his breath steady despite the storm of destruction around him. His allies, a ragtag group of survivors, moved in silence, prepared for what was about to come. Voss's mind raced. The odds were slim, but as he glanced at his squad, he knew one thing for sure. They weren't going to go down without a fight. "Stay low, stay sharp," Voss ordered, his voice barely a whisper. His hand gripped the plasma rifle. It was their last chance. If they failed, humanity's flame would flicker out here on this forsaken planet. The Valkyr's hunter-killers began their descent, invisible to the naked eye, yet their presence was felt. Every corner, every shadow was alive with their bloodthirsty intent. Voss's heart pounded. The storm was coming, and it would sweep through everything in its path. The hunt was on. Voss's assault on the Valkyr command base was nothing short of a suicide mission. The command center loomed before him, a fortress of gleaming metal and unbreakable tech. It was the heart of their occupation, the node that controlled the entire planetary siege. If they were to stand the chance, it had to fall. "Ready?" Voss asked, scanning the faces of his soldiers. Their eyes were filled with resolve that could rival the fiercest of armies. But there was fear too, fear of the unknown, fear of the seemingly impossible task ahead. But they moved forward. They had no choice. The ground trembled beneath their feet as explosions rocked the city around them. The Valkyr were already aware of their presence. The alarm blared in the distance, signaling the start of a battle they could not afford to lose. Voss led the charge, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Focus on the AI core. Disable it. Everything else is secondary." The enemy fire was unrelenting, but Voss pushed through. His body was bruised, his mind tired, but his purpose burned bright. As they neared the entrance to the base, the reality of the situation hit them. There was no way back. They either destroyed the heart of the Valkyr occupation, or they died trying. Gunfire echoed in the air, bodies falling on both sides as his team fought to break through. They were too few, too tired, but they had one thing the Valkyr didn't: humanity's unyielding spirit. Inside the base, chaos reigned. The walls were lined with the hum of alien tech, automated defense systems shooting anything that moved. Voss's team was making progress, but the clock was ticking. The Valkyr were closing in. Dr. Rin, the team's expert in cybernetics, worked furiously at the control panel.
His hands flew over the keys, but his eyes kept darting to the door. They didn't have much time. "I've almost got it," Rin said, his voice strained. "The virus will shut down their network, but it's not going to be easy."
Voss's gaze locked on the scientist. "What do you mean?" Ryan hesitated, his fingers still hovering above the controls. "I have to stay behind to upload it. The systems are too secure. The virus needs to be manually transmitted into the central hub. Once it's in, the Valkyr will be blind. Nothing will work. But I won't make it out." Voss's heart clenched. "No, we'll find another way." Ryan shook his head. "There is no other way. This is it. I've seen what the Valkyr are capable of. This is our last shot." Voss couldn't argue with that. With a final nod, Ryan turned back to the console, his expression resolute. "Goodbye, Voss, and thanks for believing in us." Ryan's fingers slammed down on the keyboard, and with a final agonizing look at Voss, he activated the virus. The lights flickered, and the Valkyr's tech began to sputter. The power to their weapons was gone. For the first time in years, humanity had the upper hand. And then, Ryan was gone. The enemy breached the door. The world seemed to slow as Voss took his final stand. The Valkyr had broken through. His squad was down to a handful, and his body was a map of pain. Blood soaked his uniform, and his breath came in shallow gasps. Yet, despite the pain, there was no question in his mind. He would not stop. He charged forward, his rifle blasting through the smoke-filled air. Each step was an agony, his legs shaking with the weight of his injuries, but he fought through it. Voss's mind was a whirlwind, his focus on one thing only: victory. The Valkyr's commander stood before him, towering and armored in an impenetrable exosuit. The two locked eyes, human and alien, defiance meeting arrogance. "You should be dead by now," the commander sneered, his voice amplified by the helmet. Voss grinned, blood dripping from his lips. "Not today, not ever." With one last surge of strength, Voss lunged at the Valkyr commander, determined to take him down. The battle raged around him, but nothing mattered except the fight. He wasn't done. Not yet. The battlefield was silent for a moment, as if the universe itself couldn't believe what had just happened. Voss, bloody and broken, stood once more. His heart was a fragile beat in his chest, his body barely holding together, but his spirit, his defiance, was unyielding. The Valkyr commander stared in disbelief, his jaw tightening in anger. Voss was supposed to be dead. He was supposed to be another casualty in their campaign. But Voss stood tall, lifting his rifle with shaking hands, his voice coming out in a raspy whisper. "I'm not done yet." The commander's eyes flickered with the slightest hint of uncertainty. The human was defying the odds, defying death itself. It was impossible, and yet, there he was. Voss took one slow, determined step forward. "You want to end this war?" he rasped. "Then try to kill me." As the Valkyr commander raised his weapon, Voss whispered his final words, his voice barely audible. "You don't get to win, not while I'm breathing." With his last breath, Voss pressed the detonator in his hand. The base's reactor core surged, and the earth beneath their feet trembled. The explosion was deafening, a violent wave of heat and destruction that consumed everything. The Valkyr command center shattered in an instant. Voss's body crumpled to the ground, but his mission was complete. The base was no more. The Valkyr had been defeated, at least for now. As the world burned around him, Voss's last thoughts were of the future of humanity. Even in death, his defiance would echo across the galaxy. The Valkyr might have won battles, but they had not broken humanity's will. In the silence that followed, the galaxy held its breath. The skies of Kalos 9 burned with an eerie orange glow, remnants of the destroyed Valkyr command base now reduced to nothing more than a crater. The air hums with a heavy silence, broken only by the whir of scanning drones as they hover over the desolation. The once mighty fortress, which had been a symbol of Valkyr dominance, lies in ruins. Its towering spires are nothing but twisted metal and smoldering debris. And yet, something is missing. The Valkyr patrol, fully armed and cautious, steps through the wreckage, scanning every inch of the scorched earth. They've come to confirm what they believe to be the inevitable, the end of humanity's last hope. But something gnaws at the back of their minds. There should be a body. There should be evidence. Voss was supposed to be dead, burned along with the base. The leader of the patrol, Commander Tarl, examines the area with his augmented eyes, the lenses reflecting the empty landscape. The scanning systems of the Valkyr are the most advanced in the galaxy, capable of detecting life signs even through layers of rock. But there's nothing. No heat signatures, no signs of life, nothing that even hints at the presence of a body. Voss, the human they had come to despise, the one they thought they had obliterated, had simply vanished. He's gone, Taro mutters to himself, his voice tinged with disbelief. But the unease lingers. Voss had survived the impossible once before. Could he have done it again? As Taro's boots crunch across the sand, his mind races. Voss was more than a man. He was a symbol of defiance that even death couldn't contain. The Valkyr couldn't allow that. They had to believe he was gone. But the thought of a hero who refused to die, a human who refused to be crushed by the might of their empire, hangs heavy in the air. Far beyond the shattered planet, in the cold void of space, a lone rebel ship drifts toward Kalis 9. The vessel is a patchwork of stolen Valkyr tech and hastily welded human ingenuity, a reflection of the desperation and resourcefulness of the rebellion. Its crew, an eclectic mix of humans and aliens, operates in tense silence, their faces illuminated by the flickering glow of the control panel. "We're coming up on the planet, Captain," reports a young officer, his voice tight with anticipation.
Captain Kalen, a seasoned leader with eyes that had seen too many battles, leans forward, her brow furrowed. They had intercepted Voss's distress signal weeks ago. It had been faint, almost lost in the vastness of space, but they had followed it nonetheless. They were hoping for victory, a chance to find the human who had defied the Valkyr, who had become a legend in the underworld of rebellion. But now, as they approach the planet, doubt fills the air. What had they come to find? Was Voss still alive, or had they arrived too late? The ship touches down with a gentle jolt, the landing gears scraping against the barren surface. The crew steps into the harsh, windswept desert of Kalis 9, their eyes scanning the wreckage. There's no sign of Voss's body, only the ruins of the Valkyr command base. And yet they can't shake the feeling that something important still lies buried in the sand. "Check the scans," Kalen orders, her voice steady. "We're not leaving until we know the truth." The rebels scour the surface of Kalis 9, picking through the remains of the battlefield. As they sift through the sand and debris, one of the crew members, Lieutenant Juno, finds something. A flash of silver catches her eye, and she kneels to inspect it. It's a small, nearly invisible strand of something, human DNA. The trace is faint, but unmistakable. This wasn't just any fragment. This was proof that Voss had been there. "Captain, you need to see this," Juno calls out, her voice tinged with awe. Kalen approaches, kneeling beside Juno, her eyes narrow as she examines the genetic trace. This isn't just any debris. This is Voss. He was here. The discovery sends a ripple of hope to the crew. They hadn't found his body, but now they had evidence that the legend wasn't just a myth. Voss's defiance, his survival against impossible odds, wasn't just a tale whispered in the darkest corners of space. It was real. He had fought here and he had survived. The myth was alive, and it was something the Valkyr would soon regret underestimating. The rebel crew prepares for their next move. Dr. Ryan, the brilliant but often unpredictable scientist, steps forward with a small device in hand, a virus designed to bring down the Valkyr's vast technological network. "This is it," Ryan says, her voice steady, but carrying the weight of the moment. "This will cripple their communications. It will destabilize their hold on the galaxy." The rebels are gathered around a stolen Valkyr console, the air thick with anticipation. They've already made their mark on Kalis 9, but this will be their true strike. The virus is uploaded into the system with practiced precision, and Ryan activates the sequence. What's done is done, she mutters, watching the progress bar fill. Within seconds, the virus begins to spread. The console beeps and whirs as the Valkyr's once impenetrable network buckles under the strain. Communications between their fleets begin to fail, their control systems glitch, and the once untouchable technological edge they held over the galaxy begins to erode. The Valkyr, in their arrogance, had never anticipated this kind of resistance. They're falling apart, Kaelin says, a grin spreading across her face. This is just the beginning. Across the galaxy, whispers of Voss's impossible survival spread like wildfire. Rebel cells, oppressed alien species, and even the slaves of the Valkyr begin to speak of the undying human. Stories of a man who refused to die, who fought against impossible odds, inspire a new wave of defiance. Everywhere they go, humanity's name is invoked in awe, and Voss's myth becomes a rallying cry. A figure once thought to be a mere symbol of resistance is now more. He's the face of rebellion itself. His legend transcends borders and species, uniting those who had once been hopeless. "It's happening," Lieutenant Juno says, watching as messages flood their comms. "The galaxy is waking up." The myth of Voss has grown into a movement. No longer is humanity simply struggling for survival, they are fighting back, and the Valkyr Empire is beginning to crack. Humanity's resurgence, fueled by the myth of Voss, becomes unstoppable. Across the galaxy, former slaves rise up, prisoners revolt, and alien species unite under the banner of human resistance. The Valkyr, once thought to be invincible, find themselves on the back foot as the tides of war turn in favor of humanity. In every corner of the galaxy, the story of Voss's defiance lives on, a living force that drives the rebellion forward. The Valkyr, once masters of the galaxy, are now faced with the reality of a united, defiant humanity. As the rebels launch their final offensive against the Valkyr's strongholds, they know that the battle is far from over, but they also know that they are no longer alone. They fight not just for survival, but for something greater, the legacy of a hero who defied death itself. Voss's blood, his will, has become the spark that will ignite the galaxy's greatest rebellion. Humanity is no longer just a species to be crushed. It is a symbol of defiance. And as long as that myth lives on, the Valkyr will never truly win. Exterior tranquil forest world, day. A calm, untouched world where the soft rustling of trees fills the air undisturbed by the chaos of the galaxy. The sunlight filters through the branches, casting playful patterns on the ground. A child, no older than 10, walks alongside an old soldier, a man whose weathered face speaks of countless battles fought and lost. "Do you think he was real?" The child's question hangs in the air, delicate and pure. It's not just a question, it's a gateway to a legend. The old soldier pauses, his eyes wandering to the horizon, where the sky meets the earth in a peaceful silence. The old soldier stands still, gazing into the distance. His scars are not just physical, they are memories etched into his skin. He doesn't answer the child's question, but the subtle shift in his expression says more than words could. A soft, almost imperceptible smile tugs at the corners of his lips. It is not a smile of joy, but of understanding. His eyes, tired yet unbroken, tell the story. The old soldier has lived through battles, horrors, and victories, but here, in the quiet of this world, the myth of Voss still burns brightly in his soul. He has seen the impossible. He has seen humanity rise time and time again, and he knows that the legend of Voss is more than a story. It is a truth. And it lives on, not just in memory, but in the hearts of those who survived. The camera shifts, drawing closer to the old soldier's face. The gentle lines, the deep-set eyes, the scars of a life lived on the edge, they are all there. And then the revelation hits. This man, the one who has stood silent for so long, is none other than Voss himself. Despite the years, the scars, and the weight of time, Voss remains the same in his essence. He is no longer the battle-hardened warrior, but something more. His physical form is older, weary, but the fire within him, the resilience, remains untouched. The universe has changed, but Voss stands still in its current.
a living testament to humanity's unyielding will. The camera returns to Voss sitting alone in quiet contemplation. The child, still walking beside him, watches him carefully. The air is thick with unspoken words, but Voss finally speaks, his voice soft yet firm, with the weight of 1,000 battles behind it. I wasn't the first. I just stood back up when they needed someone to. His words, simple yet profound, encapsulates everything that Voss's journey stands for. This is not the story of miraculous survival or glory. It is the story of a man who, when faced with death, chose to stand up, again and again, for the sake of humanity, for the sake of the hope that humanity could and would defy the odds. The camera lingers on his face. In that moment, Voss reveals the truth of his legacy. It was never about the physical body, the battles won, or the victories achieved. It was always about the spirit of humanity, the drive to survive, to rise, to refuse defeat no matter the cost. Voss's survival was never about him. It was about what he represented, a flame that could never be extinguished. The myth lives on not in his presence, but in the choices he made and the lives he touched. Humanity's greatest strength lies not in its technology or weapons, but in its ability to rise from the ashes over and over again.